DRS zone and the overtaking into turn 1 continues all the way to turn 4 and into 5, 6, 7 side-by-side action, and not necessarily where you qualify, it's where you finish at this one.
There was a time once when we came to Bahrain and we wanted to see Karun Chandok out on the track, and we thought we'd see him in first practice, and then we thought we'd see him in second practice. And
what's up, guys? This is Total Hammer. We are back with another live review, and today's live review is going to be Bahrain. It's practice 1. Practice 1 Bahrain, to see how this ends up. Got the live timings there.
I enjoyed racing here in GP2 before. You know, it's a really interesting layout for both for qualifying. I think there's certainly a big challenges with the wind we get.
Yeah, let's see how this ends up.
In the desert, but some corners which are susceptible. You know, they draw you into making mistakes. 9, 10, the braking for that is often a tricky one. And I think down here as well, we see the bottom of the track there, turn 8. So I think it's a challenging track in qualifying, but as you guys have already said in racing, I think there's a stack offer. You said yesterday it's the 3rd highest number of overtaking moves we had last year.
Second highest overtaking of last year, 54 on-track passes according to the stats man. Second highest of the season, behind anyone?
Interlagos?
No.
China?
Spa. With 59 at Spa last year. Doesn't include the first lap, that one. Just take the stats from the end of the first lap. Daniel Ricciardo, who may or may not have had conversations with Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, if you heard him yesterday in the driver's press conference and speaking to us after it, but certainly in contention in the Drivers' Championship for 4th place. Sergio Perez has 100 points at the moment, Charles Leclerc 97 points, Daniel Ricciardo 96 points. Any one of those drivers could take 4th spot, and we've got a big battle as well between Racing Point, McLaren, Renault, and now Ferrari, after an excellent turkey for Ferrari for that 3rd place in the Constructors' Championship. A couple of drivers to mention, you'll see them on your screen there. Roy Nissany stepping in the Williams for this particular session, and Robert Kubica, he replaces Kimi Räikkönen for his 4th.
Yeah, let's go. Practice 1 starting now.
Nissany with his 3rd FP1 outing of the season. There is Robert Kubica, former pole sitter.
Yeah, practice 1. Let's see how this ends up. I know it's just practice 1, but you know, 7 cars will come out now. A few cars will come out the pit lane.
Cars on the track. Let's head up to the grandstand, which will be full of heroes on Sunday for the race, and is full of Ted Kravitz for this afternoon.
Thank you, David. Hello, Paul. Hello, Karun. Hello, everybody from the grandstand again. And I've spotted some interesting stuff on the cars going out for this first practice session. Obviously, we're not under lights here. These big new lights that they positioned.
We're not under lights. Yeah, we're not. Practice 1, not lights.
But of course, this is
no lights. We're in the daytime in the morning.
We don't have so much that's relevant for the rest of the weekend. That gives the teams and is giving the teams a perfect opportunity to do some aerodynamic testing.
Yeah.
So
great opportunity for the team to do some aerodynamic testing.
Aero rig just south of the middle of the car.
Good slide. It's dry. You get ultimate grip.
And that's testing the barge boards that actually hang underneath the nose. And that's been an area where Ferrari have been chopping and changing, mixing stuff that they put on the car. I think you can see it now on an onboard. And at Red Bull, there's a very interesting rake. Also just south of the front wheels, but in a much more
yeah,
area.
Yeah, they're all having them little metal things on the car, testing all the aerodynamics, the grip, the wind temperature.
Red Bull have got some aero rakes, certainly on Max Verstappen's car, around the T cameras, and that's to test the airflow coming off the halo. So lots going on down here.
Yes, this might not be the most relevant session, Karun and Paul, in terms of track conditions for qualifying and for race. But there's always lots of aero work to be done.
Yeah, but also I think the cooler weather we've got today, the track temp is only 27 degrees. So bearing in mind, normally when we come here to Bahrain, FP1, you're right, Robbie, it's one of the most irrelevant sessions because the track temp is way up in the 40s. Now, I'll be interested to see actually later this evening. I mean, Paul, you went for a track walk yesterday evening. I can't imagine it's much different to the 27 that we're seeing now. So it could
yeah, people are coming out for 1 lap, testing everything. It's not good about in practice to test everything when it comes to like practice 2 and 3. That's when they do the quali sims. In practice 2 they do the quali sims.
The grip level compared to last year was significantly lower. Much more degradation, and actually about 2 seconds different in qualifying.
Slower.
Two seconds slower for the identical car. And probably better conditions this year because the qualifying was night for us as opposed to last year was during the day. So I don't know whether it's taking an impact or whether it's just, you know, the lack of grip the surface has got.
When you say you raced here,
Yeah, service has a lack of
2
grip.
weeks ago.
Yeah, full throttle 63.8%, top speed is 203 miles per hour. Downforce is really low
It was a lot hotter.
on this track, and tyre wear is medium.
But you brought it with me.
Normally when we come to Bahrain, it's absolutely fantastic, isn't it?
We normally also come in April from
Yeah,
here.
I'm sure there is that.
Just not sure Paul's got that much influence, you know.
In my ears at the moment, I have a gallery in London going, it's 26 degrees, shivering, man. And for Bahrain, it has been unseasonably cool.
Yeah, it's been cool in Bahrain so far.
Because we don't often
Valtteri Bottas on a now Hamilton's world champion. Now Mercedes are letting Hamilton and Bottas race. Now we'll see who's gonna come out on top. Who's gonna have the stronger?
I know, but the people that are upset.
Let's see who's like the best.
Here in Bahrain are in London at the moment. They know what shivering's all about. While Ted was talking, you might have seen the graphic on your screen explaining the Pirelli testing tyres for this and the FP2 session as well. Just to reiterate, if you didn't catch the graphic, Pirelli have supplied 2 sets for each car to be used in FP1 and FP2. They are 2 sets of the C3 compound tyre for next season. There'll be the tyres that haven't got markings on them, and the tyres that are being used by Kevin Magnussen, Romain Grosjean, Lance Stroll, Pierre Gasly, Sergio Perez, and this man Lando Norris. At the moment, they've got to do a minimum of 6 time laps.
Spitting a little bit around the back, but nothing too bad.
Minimum of 6 time laps in whatever session they want to choose, but Pirelli have asked that at least 6 laps are done in FP2, even if the tyres have been used before. And it might be that we get a slight distortion of the times because the PSIs, minimum starting pressure on the test tyres are lower than the tyres that we have for the weekend. 22.5 PSI for the front, 21 PSI for the rear on the normal tyres for the weekend.
Yeah, this is one of the challenges.
Good, no one slipped out yet.
We've got
Good laps.
now. We've got this jam-packed calendar that we've had since July, which hasn't allowed, you know, in the past, the teams have dedicated, you know, 1 car day each to do some Pirelli testing, and they would often go to Paul Ricard in France or other circuits. They haven't had the capacity to do that, so Pirelli are having to use these Friday sessions to try and just get a bit of information for next year with a
Pirelli just using these Friday sessions, like commentators said, to get some little bit of info next year of how the tyres are going to be like.
But it's a young driver test this year. Some teams trying to force race drivers in there, some teams choose not to do it, but they've got to use this year's spec tyre, and they can't even trim the downforce to next year's level either with the trim on the floor as well. So you're effectively what you finished the race in Abu Dhabi with. Continue to
I tagged it. I tagged the
giving
video.
Young drivers an opportunity, which is great in a sense because it gets.
It's a time, it's getting dark in Bahrain.
With a bit more anger.
On that point, Paul, you guys, I don't know if you heard this, in Russia we had Cyril Abiteboul join Rachel and me on stage, and he tried very hard to convince me that Fernando Alonso qualified for a young driver test.
Young at heart, maybe, but not young in experience, and needs to be in that test. He'll continue driving the 2018 Renault.
That's right. He's done a filming day, which you're allowed to do 100 kilometers in the 2020 car, but he's currently been testing here in Bahrain and in Abu Dhabi in the 2018 car. And I think the big change actually for next year is pre-season testing's down to 3 days.
Yeah.
So actually for Fernando, he's only going to get a day and a half when they split it up, which is not a lot really for someone out of the car in 2 seasons.
To be honest, I don't think it's not a lot for him, but I think the biggest people who are going to struggle probably to get the coolant levels even sorted, that's McLaren with an engine change in there.
Yeah,
obviously
that's very true.
The chassis change.
But let's say McLaren might have a problem because they had an engine change.
The working environment around you. You know,
Had an engine change.
The 4 days that you generally get, the last days when everything's got to work, when you've only got half a day before that happens.
And Carlos Sainz might have to jump into a 2018 Ferrari as well for his first outing in a Ferrari in his new team. And obviously, each chassis, each engine, very different. So he wants to just get a feel, I'm sure, of the Ferrari power unit.
Well, Alain Permain from from Moreno was explaining Crofty.
Hamilton fastest so far with a 1:31.0. Bottas second with a 1:31.3. And Carlos Sainz third with a 1:31.6.
Sort of, I don't know, camera or something flashing under the car.
Yeah, we can.
Guys, they said like something flashing under the car. I don't know what it is, but there's something flashing under the car in Gasly's car.
Is that a bit off-putting? Or is there a bit of a glare, do you think?
I wouldn't think it's off-putting, and I'm sure they spoke to the FIA before they put it on there, but it's obviously some kind of laser or something they're scanning. I guess that's perfect because next week you're back.
Yeah, 1 and 2 Mercedes so far. 1 and 2.
Well, and gather the data.
Next week, though, is the outer circuit here.
Yeah, next week's going to be an outer circuit. And next week I will do a track guide for that as well, so feel free to check that out. Yeah, I'm doing a track guide outer loop.
Very quickly get everything together, and I think it's important that they try and do that. And you can see that's why they've got these rakes on the car.
You were just talking about procedures.
Yeah, so Alonso's been testing, you know, because he also wants to get himself familiar with the steering wheel. You know, he wants to make sure in Melbourne, if there's a call to say safety car, or if you have to go to the weighing scales and get the car weighed in qualifying, can you how does he get the process to restart, get back to the garage? He wants to be fully dialed in. But what
quite a calm practice so far.
Saying,
Sectors are doing good.
He's really
Here's the
keen to
timings
make sure that
right here.
he mentally, it's all become second nature to him before they go racing.
I think he means business, doesn't he, Fernando Alonso? He's not just coming back to pick up the paycheck here.
Yeah.
You've got the
Yeah, Alonso's not just going to come back for the paycheck, he's going to come for business, he's going to pull out the results.
And sees this as an opportunity to get back up.
Also, it's in Renault, and Renault's a good team as well. Renault
It's
is. It's a good team.
Socially,
Yeah, there's some light on the back of their cars, I don't know what it is, but there's some light in the back.
that test in Barcelona.
I don't know.
Believe the difference in development in the cars over the course since he's been out. He said you just unexpected.
Roy Nissani, probably an F2 driver. Testing. Yeah, probably an F2 driver.
Kind of knee pads over his time. He said you're just wedging yourself in to try and get the support. So, you know, and he's not going to get enough of that before he gets in the car. If it's only a day and a half around here shared with somebody else. Now you have a reliability issue in the course of that day. You're arriving in Melbourne and your body's not ready.
So far, no improving lap time. Kevin Magnussen probably improving lap times.
You're not going to be race fit because when you're tense,
No, it's
you
practice,
work
isn't it?
muscles in a very different way, and the more mileage he gets, it just gets him in the zone.
If we come to Bahrain for pre-season testing, I wonder if they're going to elongate the days as well, because they've
Just pause a little bit.
to run that much longer to make up for a bit of the time lost.
Inside wheel is lifting a lot in the corners.
As you can see there.
That's very odd at that corner as well.
That shouldn't lift that much.
Not at that corner. Definitely not.
No.
It's like there's a rear right suspension issue as possibly.
That did not look good, and that's why Esteban Ocon is back in the garage now. Talking of car development,
Ocon back in the garage.
Coming up this week, where a young Ted Kravitz takes a look.
Working on his car, it looks like.
To a brand new Mercedes car and shows us just how the development has changed over the years. Can't wait for that one, Ted.
Less of the young.
Compared to me,
No, that's true. No, we're actually looking at how the W11, this year's Mercedes, is at the moment the fastest F1 car ever made, and might
Yeah.
turn out to be
Now, Mercedes like the fastest F1 car ever made. We've got a super fast car, good engineers as well.
the new rules
Yeah, fastest car ever made.
the
Formula One
fastest
car.
Formula One car ever.
Yeah, fastest Formula 1 car ever, alright.
So that's a feature for Sunday. Just a quick one on Charles Leclerc's the light on the back of the car. Two purposes for these things. If you see a light on the front of the car, it can be a sensor for a slip angle, see what the front wheels are doing. But when you see a light looking at the diffuser, it tends to be because they've got a camera. I think as Pierre Gasly seemed to suggest.
Yeah, Bottas locking up a bit through corners. Not that much, probably just testing the grip, where to brake, the heavy braking zones. Not going for push.
To use this session to have a look at it, maybe how much the floor deflects. as
Bottas
well.
on a lap now.
Deflection in these floors and this diffuser to see what it's doing. But Leclerc is back in the garage now. Just talking about next year and people getting used to it. So few testing, guys. What about the rookies?
Then they just cut off Bottas' lap, don't know why.
Two rookies, aren't we?
Yeah.
Nikita Mazepin and
Schumacher.
Mick Schumacher, at least two rookies.
Sonoda, who's well possibly Ted coming
Possibly,
into
yeah.
Alpha Tauri.
Possibly three.
And also, I think for Haas as a team, you know, they're going to have an all-rookie lineup, which, I was reading an article yesterday. That'll be only the 8th all-rookie lineup since in the last 40 years of F1, which is, you know, it's a tough challenge for a team.
Yeah,
That's hard
tough
when
challenge.
You arrive in Melbourne and you arrive in Monaco, Azerbaijan, Baku, you know, places where you need to follow your teammate, and he follows the grip of the track and steps it up.
However, and Gunther Steiner has openly admitted this week how close Haas came to not surviving throughout this year.
Kubica's out there as well. Robert Kubica in the Alfa Romeo in 16th place doing his first out lap. Doing some tested in practice one.
Bring with them a cash investment into the team that Haas can ill afford to turn down.
To be fair, Mazepin was fastest in the F2 sessions just before this, so you know, and I think that's what people at home need to understand. You know, he may not be the one who's about to win the championship. Mick Schumacher, on the other hand, does look like he's odds on for that. But you know, Mazepin won a race drove very well at Silverstone to win a race, which is obviously a difficult track to do. So
Yeah, people going to the pit lane.
I think there's a balancing act, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. But you've got to ensure the team's survival. And if Nikita Mazepin's investments from his father helps that Haas team survive, then you know you can't turn it down. Because the Latifi we just saw, another that brings substantial investments as well into Formula One. Now, on board with Valtteri Bottas, Paul, this is becoming something of a common theme, or are we just seeing?
Daniel Fiat up to second place, Valtteri Bottas third, Lewis Hamilton still on top. Daniel Fiat's time was a 1:31.0, and Hamilton's time was a 1:35, 1:30.5.
Some kind of straight
Yeah,
gauge in the front of that
Mercedes are
machine.
doing good
It's got
this
little
practice
sensors
session.
on top of the cameras that you can see on the nose box, but the cable there then goes into the front wing. So I wonder if they're doing deflection or starting to trim things. And when you're at the top of your game,
Yeah,
and
feel
you
free
get the small
to-
details, that's something
If
Mercedes
you're
start
Twitch
to do,
viewers,
because
feel
they
free
always
to
got
subscribe to my
downforces,
YouTube.
whether
It's
you
in the
can start to
panels.
trim it out, as we have, you know, over the years, saw flexible wings.
Yeah.
As long as they pass the FIA test, you can use them.
Then
But
they can flex on the track.
you know, the Ferrari is very evident of it this year. When you see right up at the front, you know, you see it back out, and
Yeah, Ferrari's getting better
the car to inherit downforce.
because they've been getting good results past. Ferrari will get better. They will be on top again. I think when the new regulations start, McLaren's also having a Mercedes engine, so that'd be interesting.
And there is a massive points difference. Yes, 307 plays 197, so there's 110 points between the two of them. But it could be an awful lot closer. Had Valtteri not
Feel free to follow
experienced
us on my
some
Twitch
bad
as well.
luck,
Feel
he
free
has
to drop in a
experienced
follow.
this year. Now, in qualifying, it's been very close between the two Mercedes drivers, but more often than not, Lewis Hamilton has just edged it. And then if you look at Valtteri's season, we had that late tyre failure at Silverstone that took him out of the podium places and out of the points eventually. He finished 11th. That wasn't his fault. Monza, damage to the car, finished 5th and wasn't as competitive as you would expect. Excuse me, in that race. Power unit retirement at the Nürburgring after he took pole and was leading on the early stages. Debris in
Had a power unit issue. Valtteri Bottas in the Nürburgring, the GP. Not the Nordschleife, Shannon did go for the Nordschleife. GT cars and touring cars go there. They always watch them. And they tell you they always go around there, the touring cars and the GT cars. Mercedes the fastest, Red Bull second fastest, the Renault is third fastest, Ferrari is the fourth fastest, racing points the fifth fastest, McLaren the sixth fastest, seventh is AlphaTauri, seventh fastest, eighth fastest is Williams, ninth fastest is Haas, and 10th fastest is Alfa Romeo sitting at the back. Yeah, the car's 11 minutes. Mercedes the fastest.
Has he been unlucky? Are we judging him too harshly? Are there signs that he is a much stronger teammate to Lewis Hamilton than the points would suggest? Gentlemen.
Well, I think ultimately he's been unlucky. Okay, that you know, you've highlighted the examples there. But in Germany, he had been passed by Lewis. He had locked up and gone straight on. In Turkey, I don't think he would have beaten Lewis. you know, and yes, they mentioned there's a bit of damage, but you know, he had a
Yeah, car did everything so far. Live timings are there, that's how it stands so far.
Wasn't it? You know, Lewis got penalised there as well. Actually, when he was really.
Yeah, I can't wait till the outer loop starts.
So,
We'll be
know,
doing
your
a track
question
growth
is,
for that as
would
well.
The championship battle still be on? Possibly. Would Valtteri be equal to Lewis on points? Definitely not. I think that, you know, Lewis would still be 40, 50 points ahead.
He's still not a match for Lewis over the course of a season. He can do it when everything's working, but somehow Lewis, you know.
Yeah, good practice so far.
Working at it and he gets better.
Not even a good practice, but he's just normal, you know. Like any old practice.
But on his day, he has got natural ability. He's got speed. He's got everything. And of course, Lewis compliment somebody you beaten. I guess the same scenario Vettel had with Raikkonen a few years ago. They are the perfect thing, and they chew on. That's what Max wants out of Al. What he doesn't get. A driver that's big enough and a team leader, you can accept somebody who's going to push you and beat you on your day. But has Valtteri done anything that you 3 years ago progressed? He's probably we're waiting on next jumper, but he's definitely firm.
Yeah, track limits turn 4. Any driver leaving the track and exit turn 4 will have that time evaluated. Time deleted.
They are going to be judging it, so we believe Hamilton had his lap time deleted, which we can see here quite clearly beyond the white line. So what's good, Crofty, is they're using the white line to judge it rather than the outside of the curb here, which is, I think, the right thing to do.
Couldn't agree more.
I agree with Karun. You know, there's only a handful of guys you would definitely put in that car that would be quicker than him, and my choice would be Verstappen, Leclerc,
maybe Daniel.
And they are the top. They are the guys at the top of their game. I think they're a little bit in front of everyone else. And then there isn't a better pick. But of course, those guys demand such a high salary and to be a team leader. And Daniel has done that. This year he really has reassessed himself, hasn't he?
I think Daniel has massively raised his game since he left Red Bull and has gone to Renault. I think he's rediscovered his mojo. He got beaten up quite badly by Max in that last year at Red Bull, I think, mentally. This year he's been sensational, and Paul's absolutely right. You know, that's your 4 A+ listers, aren't they, on the grid? That's their top 4.
I think Daniel's had a
Hamilton in the pits. Last 5 races in Russia, he got 3rd place, and so on, so on, so on. He got 1st in Germany, 1st in Portugal. Last 5 races.
I'm just checking. There's a stat I wrote down.
1 5th place, and the rest was 1st.
Just to show you, the work that's gone on, the improvement there for Daniel.
Roy Nissani.
I'm quite friendly with Daniel.
I'm Formula 2 in the Williams.
I hope at the end of the year he kind of says what he told me, and he's a team player. That's all I'll say. He's absolutely fundamentally part of that team, and I think that's what the guys engaged in, how they got behind him.
Daniel Ricciardo, who of course taken 2 podiums during the course of this season.
Yeah, Ricciardo's took 2 podiums in a row this season.
Place in the championship.
Didn't do it last race, but he did it the 2 races after. He had 2 podiums in a row.
Sky Sports F1, sponsored by the new Alfa Romeo Giulia and Stelvio Quadrifoglio.
Just need to mute that advert because I'll get done for copyright. So yeah, muted that. Yes, Solo, I muted that advert. See the live timing because it goes on still. Wait till the advert finishes. Yeah, it's the standings. Robert Kubica 9th. Test driver for Alfa Romeo. Robert Kubica. Yeah, can't practice so far. No crashes, no slips. Yeah, first place, Lewis Hamilton 130.5. Second, then your Fiat with 131.0. And third place is Valtteri Bottas with 131.3. Yeah, Ricardo 5th place with 131.5. Can't even see what's going on, but still see the live timing. Track temperature 27 degrees Celsius and the air temperature is 26 degrees Celsius. Pierre Gasly up to third with a 131.1. Valtteri Bottas standing fourth with 131.3. Saying that time, Hamilton's still on top. Yeah, let's turn this audio back on now. Back on live.
Lance Stroll and the damage to his front wing. Let's talk about Max Verstappen's front wing in Turkey as well. And Max has come out and spoken about this and has said, yeah, well, I went with a new front wing and I wanted it adjusted during the race, and there's a new way of adjusting it so that when they did, the balance just went completely because of the way that you had to adapt.
Yeah, after this practice, I will be streaming F1 2020.
Yeah, well, I guess probably what's happened is gone from wets to intermediates. You want a wing change anyway, because naturally you get different aero balance because the ride height's different based on how much water clearance is. But you'll see most teams now when they come into their wing adjustment.
Yeah, the driver needs to do that turn 4. You'd exit turn 4.
What it does is, however many turns a wing you want,
You need to try not go wide because it will cost you a lap time. Make your lap deleted.
Kind of one turn. You just want to go electronically on for 1.2 seconds, which Red Bull normally do 1.8 second pit stops. Then it goes on and it does 2 turns, 3 turns, whatever you want. And I think what's happened is one has gone one way, one has gone the other way. The same amount, so the imbalance in the front wing, and that's going to imbalance your downforce levels and the cross weight on the front, and that's just naturally something not nice. And you've not noticed until they've manually checked it back in the garage at the end of the race.
He's on the flyer now, just on the soft tyres, by the way.
Yeah, Verstappen on the fly with the soft tyres. Sector 1, green. Was just purple, now it's turned green. Wonder who's going faster than him.
Are you surprised to see him on the soft tyre this early in the weekend? I mean, and actually,
I know soft tyre early in the weekend. It looks like he's doing a quali-sim. And quali-sims are only in practice too.
So they're using the soft tyres up quite early on
I know they're using soft tyres quite early.
Maybe they think, though, that these track conditions are going to be similar to qualifying and the race start for Saturday and Sunday. It's just today. It's
Verstappen going faster than Hamilton with 2 tenths. 2 tenths is going faster.
The track conditions are cooler at the start of this than they might be tomorrow when we don't get so much rain about.
Yeah,
it's just a theory.
Yeah, you still have to blow the dust off.
You do have to blow the dust off, and maybe actually they have blown a lot of the dust off because they've been running more in this opening half an hour than they normally would because of those test tyres. Tell you what, let's ask Otmar Saf now. He's the team principal at Racing Point. He's with us all weekend long on the pit wall. And
yeah, Otmar all weekend. Ooh, Albon. First place, won 130.4. Albon in provisional in the fastest lap.
Excellent. So for this weekend.
Hey guys, we're back in the set. Just going to go to the toilet. I'll turn on audio for you.
Try and keep hold of that third place in the Constructors' Championship.
Well, we've got to have a good Friday program as usual. Work on one lap pace for around here, as well as seeing where the degradation of the tire is. The roughness of the tarmac here can be can have a big impact on the tire.
Otmar, it's Karun. Before you joined us, we were talking about last weekend. Obviously, a sensational result for Checo on the podium. Can we talk about Lance's race? I think you guys in the week said you found some issues with the front wing, one of the strakes underneath. I mean, can you try and quantify for people at home how much lap time or points of downforce that was hurting him?
Yeah, it was really significant. We had a massive shift in aero balance as well, over 2%, which, as you know, Karun, that's huge. And it was just unfortunate that the strike didn't just break off, but it got lodged in such a way that it made the front wing pretty practically useless.
What, Otmar, it's Paul, why didn't you change it then?
We didn't know, Paul, it was underneath the wing, and when we came in, we had a good look, but it was lodged in such a way that you couldn't see it, and we had no idea that it was there the way it was until the set down after the race.
If you had to change the wing, do you think it would have been a 1-2 for Racing Point then?
It could very well have. Lance did pit one extra time, so it's hard to predict, but for sure he would have been much further up the grid.
Excellent. Otmar, thanks ever so much indeed. I know you want to watch Checo Perez because he's just out on the track now, so we'll let you get on with that for a while, and we'll be back with you in a little while. Alex Albon, half an hour gone, is the fastest man on the track at the moment. Lewis Hamilton is just going for a lap on the testing tyres, so maybe, Shandok, you can take us through a lap with the 7-time now, count them, world champion Lewis Hamilton.
In a 7th gear, Crofty, as he comes up towards turn 4, a tricky corner which drops away. Lewis using all the road, but staying within track limits on this occasion. About 600s up on what we've seen so far from Albon's lap, which is a current benchmark down into turn 8. Bit of a snap of the steering wheel there, the rear of the car not quite with Lewis on this run. This double left-hander, we've seen Valtteri locking up the inside front. No issues for Lewis on this lap. Really important to get the car straight and free it up to accelerate with the DRS open. Should you choose to use it, of course, in pre-practice. They don't always do that. End of the back straight, 5th gear for this left-hander. I always like this section, this left-right through 11 and 12. So it's a tricky corner here into 13 as well to get the braking right. Slightly wide there, but for whatever reason they're not looking at track limits at that corner, so he'll get away with it. He's quite a chunk up, by the way, in the first 2 sectors. This last corner comes back at you, bit of oversteer as he tries to unleash the over 1,000 horsepower up towards the line, and he goes to the top of the times with a 1:30.1. So that's now, Crofty, about a 1/10.5 quicker than what we saw in FP1 last year.
With a best time for Charles Leclerc of a 1:30.354. And he's about a 1/10.5 up on his teammate Valtteri Bottas, who's also on the testing tyre as it stands at the moment. And we have a yellow flag that is currently waving for that man there, Romain Grosjean.
That's been a big off, wherever that's gone.
He's gone off at turn 7, is where Romain Grosjean went off there. But when you do go off here and you go on to the dust-coloured runoff area, you do pick up an awful sand on your tyre.
That's been in the gravel somewhere, I think, Crofty. I mean, that's
he's
more than dust, isn't
the
it?
front left, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, you could see here we go, we're going to have a look here. So, as you mentioned, here he comes into turn 5, has a wobble. It was up at turn 6, he had the wobble there, and the back of the car got away.
Yeah.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
He's lucky not hit the wall.
Yeah, I'm okay. Tire's completely gone. Okay, check vibration. I'll come back slowly.
Wobble at turn 6, spin at turn 7.
That was proper lucky not to end up in the wall. That could have been one car gone, and there's a Ferrari stopping. That's been in the gravel. Has that been, or has it just had a spin?
Well, that's been off from the runoff area, that is for sure. For Charles Leclerc.
It's a moment coming out of turn 2.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess, but he's trying to put the power down.
Continued at turn 3.
Yeah, trying to put the power down. That's always a tricky corner, that left-hander, Paul, isn't it?
Yeah, because you need to really compromise turn one to make sure you stay flat through here. Oh, just let them up.
We often see that, though. In recent years, with the increased torque that's going through the rear axle, we have seen lots of drivers do that.
I was saying the grip was low last week, well, a couple of weeks ago when we were here. But the F2 session, if you're watching it earlier, got red flagged twice for people spinning at the last corner.
Yeah.
Which you never normally get sessions stopped here because there's excessive runoff and it's tarmac.
Yeah, you see people normally running wide, don't you, the last corner?
Exactly, but not spinning there.
Not spinning there. So, yeah, it will be, when the track rubbers up and the dust clears off, as Grosjean...
He's properly limping home in that Haas.
Doing the sensible thing, though, I think, getting out of people's way.
3 races to go for Romain Grosjean in his Formula One career. Won't be at Haas for next season and is looking at other options outside of Formula One, as is his teammate Kevin Magnussen, of course, and looking like Magnussen's going to go and race in the States.
Yeah, he's, I think, signed a deal to race for Cadillac in the Sports Car Championship in America, so following his dad's footsteps. So Jan, of course, did a lot of years of racing in the States in that championship.
He did. So Grosjean back into the pits and was currently 6th fastest. That's obviously a blow for Haas, but coming to a track where both Grosjean and Magnussen actually, certainly in qualifying and occasional races, go quite well here. Grosjean, for instance, 5th for Haas in 2016 on what was his 2nd ever start for the team. Kevin Magnussen, 2018, finished 5th here as well. It's, you would say, one of the favourite tracks for both drivers. But you won't like to see that shot too many times after his spin at about 130 miles an hour. And here's Valtteri Bottas, turn 10 again, lock up again.
And you see he made a big change on the brake balance to push it rearward. So he's obviously conscious of it. For whatever reason, he needs to go even more.
This is a moment where as many of the systems you've got is how you're approaching the pedal application, isn't it? And generally, an F1 car, you've got that much downforce. You can, in any race car, to be honest, when you're in a big stop, the biggest peak should be on the initial hit. So it's absolutely bang, 110 bar, go for it. It wouldn't be at that corner. But what you naturally probably have to do there is kind of bleed into it, and then the mid part of the brake would be where the strongest peak is, and then you'd be bleeding off, which is very unnatural. And that's where it's just bringing it back, bringing it back, bringing it back. But it's one of those corners that's very much unloaded. But you do that in a race set of tyres, that is going to be.
That was always a corner I thought you had to underdrive the entry. Like you say, you've got to bring it back to make sure you get that nose into the apex without locking up.
It's not worth the pain of the flat spot, and it's not worth the pain of losing 2/10 along the next straight, which is so crucial to lap time. For the sake of a couple of hundreds, which is taking you into the comfort zone, fine. Hamilton's going through there now. We've not saw any issues with him. In fact, when we saw his quickest lap, he absolutely nailed it. A tiny lock-up on the last metre.
Sergio Perez had gone 3rd fastest. Verstappen and Albon have gone past him. Here he starts another flying lap. Now, whilst we watch this, let's just hear from the Racing Point McLaren, Renault and Ferrari camps at the moment, because there is that battle for 3rd place, and we're talking millions of dollars at stake.
We still have a chance for sure, and I think we still have a genuine chance. You can see how quickly it turns around, in a week. And if we have one of those weeks, then we're back there and the favourites again.
Racing Point have probably been the quicker team throughout the whole season. I think that's quite easy to admit.
We've lost the podium a couple of times already this year due to the strategies. So it was good to finally get it, and I think hopefully we can, before the end of the year, we can get another one or two more.
I think the pressure's on them. They have a bit more of a better package right now to score the points. So if we outperform them, it would be a bit of a surprise for us.
Ferrari are in the fight. Looking at their recent performance, I think they have been, definitely developing and being, coming stronger.
It's always been a strong track for Ferrari, so hopefully it will be the case this weekend. We need it, both for the constructors and for the drivers' championship. Let's see.
Leclerc with the Ferrari and Ricciardo with the Renault. I think they are very strong competitors. They're very complete drivers. And they have a good car, I think they're on a similar level to us. Some tracks are better, some tracks are worse. So it's going to be going all the way till the end of the season.
We're just waiting for another weekend where 2 cars, you know, finish big. It's been a few since we've done that, and then we're right in the mix.
Another good lap from Sergio Perez, 130.2. He's 6/100ths off Lewis Hamilton, albeit on the soft tyre when Hamilton was on the C3, which is or C3 for next year, the testing tyre, and the medium compound for next year when he did his lap.
Why is my bottom toggle is not working?
Okay, we're checking now.
It's just toggling, it's not holding on.
Okay, understood.
It's always...
Okay, Lando, we will fix the toggle for the next run.
So what can he adjust on his right toggle then on that steering wheel, I wonder? If only there was someone I knew that had an in-depth knowledge of the McLaren steering wheel.
Yeah, Lando's on a nice fire now.
The steering wheel, you can do what you want with it, Crofty. That toggle can do anything. You know, and that's how complex these cars are. I would suspect it's some kind of engine braking or diff support, and you can see him trying to switch that toggle. It's maybe brake distribution as Bottas was locking up into here. Just watch as he come out here. Is he going to change it back? Yeah, right hand side, right at the top, you can see it. You can see the one on the left hand side up, and there you go. He's made that switch. So it's something he's doing to control front locking into there. So my thing's going to say engine braking, or it's going to be brake distribution, and it's purely just so he doesn't have to adjust how he hits the brakes.
Lando Norris, who set the fastest lap in Turkey, his second fastest lap of the 2020 season, and the third bonus point that McLaren have picked up for fastest lap during the course of this year and back of the track. But he was 6th on. I would say 12 months ago, 18 months ago, 19 months ago, to claim his first points in Formula 1. We'll see Lando Norris into the pit lane, and Ted Kravitz from the stands can tell us more.
Well, lots of people coming into the pits now, even though we haven't got the sort of more conventional 40-minute lull, because people have already changed tyres with the work that Pirelli want to do on these unmarked tyres. Lots of people now sticking to their sort of usual plan of coming in after 40 minutes, not least Lance Stroll and Checo Perez. You can see the McLaren just leaving the pits again. But yeah, was it not just a fantastic performance by Checo Perez, the P2 last time out, and really he was saying and acknowledging that had Lance been with him on the podium, that really could have been shutting the door as far as Racing Point is concerned on that battle for third in the Constructors. The fact that they didn't manage it, and only managed to be on the podium with one car, even though Lance did score a couple of points, means that fight is very much still open. I like that quote from Checo though, Crofty, did you? Where he didn't mention Sebastian Vettel and Esteban Ocon as the drivers in Ferrari and Renault scoring points. So Esteban and Seb really off the Checo Perez.
Even though Seb was on the podium alongside him in Turkey, of course.
I thought that might have struck home with him. But in any case, he's absolutely right to say that you know, there is going to be a resurgence from Ferrari, and they're going to get into that fight as well. But I was just reflecting on Lance Stroll you were talking about earlier. That's 2 races this year that he could have won.
Yeah.
Remember Monza, when he started the restart on the front row with Lewis Hamilton still to take a penalty. So yeah, learning experience, I guess, for Lance.
Yes, disappointing for him. Ran wide, of course, in Turkey, and then that's produced the damage on that front wing. Talk more about Checo Perez in a few moments' time. He is currently the second fastest driver on the track, 6/100ths of a second past behind Lewis Hamilton with a 130.1.
Yeah, just muted for adverts. You can see still the live timing is still going on. 46 minutes until practice 1 is over, then practice 2 will start. Yeah. Good practice so far. Good lap times for different drivers.
It protects me against frequent heartburn. 1 pill for 24 hours of 0 heartburn. That's 9 common nothing with longer lasting protection from heartburn.
Yeah, we're back on now.
Track, turn 7, where we saw Romain Grosjean spin a few moments ago, about 130 miles an hour as you head down hill, and then turn 9 and 10, tricky braking zones
Timing,
as well. We
Sergio
can
Perez.
follow the medical
Still
car.
in
I think that is
second
Lalan
place.
van der Merwe out on the track at the moment. Through turn 11, climbing back uphill once again. And when he gets to turn 13, that's where the outer track will start to rejoin to the usual track.
Yeah, safety
for this
cars
time
up
next
there
week,
now, and the
when we have a
helicopter
different
doing
circuit layout here for Bahrain.
You know, Bahrain's the only track, I think, that's got
Heading up to turn 13.
grade 1 licenses, i.e. to host Formula 1 on 4 different layouts.
Really?
It's extraordinary. You know, when they did the design and homologation, And I'm glad we're using a different one. It's really good for us to use a different one.
So we've got the usual one that we're using this week, the outer one we're using next week.
We have
the long one that we used once and was rubbish.
2010. But then they've also got another layout which the V8 supercars use, where you do turn 1 and 2 and then turn right and rejoins the back straight, where currently we have turn 10. So it's a shorter layout.
Daniel Kvyat has just had a lap time deleted for exceeding track limits at turn 4. Not many drivers had their lap times deleted so far. Kvyat, Albon, Hamilton and Latifi with the misdemeanors. And whilst we look at the Alpha Tauri on the track, we can head to Ted Kravitz in the grandstand.
Didn't mention Robert Kubica yet, have you, Crofty?
Oh, has he had his lap time deleted as well?
No, it's just that he's nice to see him back.
I've mentioned him twice, Ted. I have mentioned,
Ted, listen.
I have mentioned the wonderful Robert Kubica, the man who celebrates his, what is he, 36 week on Monday?
Who was that on the? Who was that on the world feed? Who was that on the pit wall there?
I'm not sure. Franz Tost.
Who? Who's that?
This is the current gag running around in Formula One. Knock knock. Who's there? Franz Tost. Who?
We should tell everybody. Yeah. Explain what this is before I tell you about. Well, I'll tell you about Robert Kubica and Giovinazzi later. But sorry,
tell us about Robert Kubica in a minute.
Okay.
I'll shout "Run VT" and the gag can be explained.
Let's listen to
Run VT.
Formula One is discussing a salary cap for drivers, and Franz Tost said recently that drivers shouldn't earn more than 10 million a year,
on a lap now.
and you should be happy to drive these cars. What is your opinion of the salary cap?
Who said that?
Franz Tost.
Who's that?
They're just playing Hamilton's press conference.
Team principal of Alpha Tauri.
Bahrain press conference that was on yesterday.
Okay.
Your opinion of the salary cap?
Gasly goes fastest for 130.049.
I think currently the salary cap is supposed to be implemented probably when I'm not even here. I do think that the drivers here are naturally the stars of the sport. They're the ones that are seen, those are the ones that bring their brands, and their reputation helps elevate the sport and help it travel globally around the world. If you look at other sports, there have been salary caps in some of those sports, I think like the NFL or basketball maybe. I think the one difference is that those places, the individuals own their image in many areas, so then they can try to maximize their image elsewhere. Where this sport controls pretty much the driver's image, and
I'm just talking about salary cap in the interview.
I'm not personally opposed to it. I mean, it's not my decision at the end of the day. I do think about the next up-and-coming young stars that are coming through, and I don't particularly see why they should be handicapped if they're bringing something huge to the sport. I think it is a multi-billion-dollar sport, and they should be rewarded for what they do bring to it. I don't know if you would agree.
Back to Ted on this in a couple of moments, but Karun and Paul alongside me in the commentary box.
That was the interview. Bottas going wide again on some corners. He's struggling here. Fiat lap time deleted going wide. Turn 4. He just said, yeah, Michael, get rid of these track limits. Yeah.
I mean, how can you not? You could then just go straight from turn 5 down to turn 8. There's a straight shot there. Why do you just do that? Exactly, yeah.
Don't know why he said, yeah, Michael, stop these track limits. Ridiculous comments.
So Lewis Hamilton's comments there about salary caps and whether drivers. Franz did say drivers you get 10 million for the honour of driving a Formula 1 car. 10 million maximum. Don't pay them any more than that.
I'm still struggling to understand how it's all going to work, and maybe I misunderstood this, because ultimately I think the drivers' contracts are anyway divided up. They do what they get paid to drive, and then what they get paid to be an ambassador for the team, an ambassador for the brand, and you know, they get their bonuses. It's all divvied up. So quite how you can police it, you know, if I think the cap they've talked about, let's take Toss example of 10 million. You could pay Lewis 9.9 million to drive and then pay him how many ever squillions for being an ambassador to Mercedes.
Yeah.
Just tell Franz Toss will pay you 100 grand then for being a team principal.
For the honour of being a team principal at a racetrack.
You know, the reality is it's just the way it is. Top sports people get paid more than the next best. I think the biggest problem in motorsport at the moment is how expensive certainly rich people are making karting and junior formulas these days. It's not giving people the chance to get in.
Yeah, Vettel on the flyer looks like, yeah. On the soft tires, I think.
What's happening there? Because that's what's restricting natural talent and ability getting to the top.
Can't really see because.
I know myself, I would not have got to Formula 1.
Yeah, but he's on the flyer, sector 1 personal best.
It would not have even been
for Sebastian Vettel.
And it probably was at the point where Lewis would have been able to make it.
What was the FIA are trying to address with a new karting series, the electric karting series? Is that meant to be cheaper for people to take part at the bottom level? But Paul's right. As you rise up,
yeah, Vettel coming around this corner now.
Then it does start to get very expensive.
1.9 seconds off Hamilton's time, Lewis Hamilton's time, and yeah, he's got set to 2 personal best.
Even the sacrifices, they're living in Italy and they're living in factories.
Yeah, see what Vettel gets. Yellow flag for a bit there. Yellow flag. I mean, yeah, yellow flag as well. But Sebastian Vettel improved on his lap time, but sits in 15th place. Not good for Ferrari.
Right now, because the cost of it is just gone way out of control. A season of Formula 4, your first entry level.
Pierre Gasly, 3rd place, with a 1:30.0. AlphaTauris and Racer points are doing good.
Today, drivers are spending 650,000 euros to do a season of Formula 4. That's your first step on the ladder.
Yeah.
A season of FIA F3, drivers are spending nearly €1 million to do.
Does that change next year when you've got more races over one weekend? Does that bring the cost down or not?
They don't, because they'll spend it another week, probably.
No, and that whole thing about you know, the way they've rejigged F2 and F3. When I speak to some of the team managers at F2 and F3, they don't think it's actually changed much. You know, they've cited a number of examples. For example, F2 are doing 8 weekends.
Yeah.
I think 5 of them are flyways.
Yeah, exactly. And they've ended up with a worse calendar as a result.
Yeah.
This is
yeah.
the final corner, by the way.
Yeah, you know, I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking the people that are making the decisions, and I'm not having a dig at anybody. I'm not having.
Lovely. Think the tires are flat. Love it.
I think you could be right, Max.
You know, you thinking the people, the team principal.
Yeah, Fiat's tyres are flat spotted. Yeah, somebody slipped off a little bit. It's like it's one of the Red Bulls of Max Verstappen.
A salary cap's coming in even for their job.
Yeah. Well,
you know where they're starting and where.
I'm sure no one would volunteer for a salary cap, really, if they can lose money.
It's very, you know, when you're signing on the dotted line to say you've already done the impact.
Bahrain approaching last corner.
So.
Right, yeah, Bottas is Racing Juice says it may be rain in the last corner. It's turn 15, I guess.
They are eye-watering salaries that some of the drivers can earn. And even £10 million is an eye-watering salary, let's face it.
Okay guys, we'll be right back. I'll turn up the desktop audio for you.
Trade under a hugely, highly pressurised situation. In the case of Lewis Hamilton, excelling and now winning 7 world championships. So why shouldn't they get recompense for that?
And putting their lives at risk. Let's also be very clear, motor racing is still a very dangerous sport, and we do unfortunately still get drivers who get injured or killed, not necessarily in Formula 1, but across the sport every year. And I think there's a certain value to that. So listen, I'm not, you know, I don't want to undermine the fact that 10 million is a lot of money. Of course it is, you know, but I think it's not the area to be focusing all the energy on. There's so many other areas of the sport, as Paul's highlighted there, that we should be addressing. I think that's to me, that's where we do need to focus, is how are we going to drive the next generation into the sport.
Your thoughts, please. Hashtag SkyF1. Ted, to you.
Is it not a moot point? I mean, how many drivers actually get more than 10 million? It's probably half a dozen. Lewis, maybe Valtteri, Charles, probably Seb, Max. That's about it. Daniel, definitely.
Alonso
will be coming in. So what, 6 or 7? Anyway.
I wouldn't have thought AlphaTauri pay either of their drivers anywhere near £10 million a year. Although I'm sure Pierre Gasly's salary has been enhanced this year by the win in Monza, and thoroughly deserved too.
And they should be so lucky to drive these cars. I'm with Franz Tost on this one. I'm not really. But we saw.
Make your mind up.
We saw Charles Leclerc's.
Talking to Leclerc, 2 seconds.
Tires don't feel good. I mean, even one lap on these tires on this track, we know how bad it is. So. Yeah.
There's an assessment of next year's tyres from Charles Leclerc there.
Doesn't bode well, does it?
You know how abrasive this track is. I might go out actually, maybe at the beginning of one of the next shows, Crofty. I'll go up and go out onto the track and compare this surface with its M6 tarmac to the motorway, the M6.
Oh yeah, it comes from Shrewsbury, doesn't it?
It does.
The rock here.
It does. So to Turkey. But a couple of things on crash helmets. See Charles Leclerc there with a special sort of Arabic-inspired lattice work design on his crash helmet. You saw Sebastian Vettel, we were riding on board with a little bit earlier. He's still using the Turkey Together as One rainbow helmet out here, which he's going to actually auction for charity at the end of this weekend. So details on that throughout the weekend. And just a quick one on Alfa Sauber with Giovinazzi. Can I do some the engine change story?
Yes.
While we're here, slightly odd one, given that you're only allowed 3 engines for the whole season, and that means that obviously they can do at least 5 races each. But Giovinazzi has been the last one to go to his last engine of the year today. So he's rolled out of the pit lane. He'd only used 2 power units up until this point. I think it's because he's actually not had too many duty cycles, because he's missed 3 or 4 races, or rather he's DNF 3 or 4 races, so there hasn't been too hard a duty cycle on his power unit.
He's missed 3, he's DNF
3, yeah. So he's got a new power unit, Giovinazzi, for the last 3 races.
Well, that'll come in really handy for next week then. It'll all be about power and streaming around here. Antonio Giovinazzi, by the way, let's take a moment to reflect that his record of making at least move on lap 1 of every single race this season came to an end in Turkey, which is a real shame for him, because he'd been doing very well in the opening laps. Meanwhile, Romain Grosjean, the latest driver to lock up at turn 10 and forced wide as a result. Now, we just saw Charles Leclerc, and we heard from Charles Leclerc on the team radio, not the greatest piece of team radio, and I'm sure that's not what Pirelli want to be hearing either. But if you didn't hear it, this was Charles Leclerc's team radio at the end of the Turkish Grand Prix. And remember what a dramatic end to the Turkish Grand Prix it was from the man from Monaco.
P4, slow button on. You did a good job. Really good.
No, I did a job. I did a job. That's it. I did a job. I am so sorry to the whole team. I am stupid. As much as in Baku. Congratulations to Seb. He deserves it. It's not been a good year for him. And yeah, even if I'm so of myself, he's done a great job, and I hope you will enjoy it.
I know a lot of people watching, their hearts would have been with you. It was so, they felt gutted for you. How quickly do you go through that kind of thing and learn from it and then put it out of your mind?
Very quickly. Putting out of my mind is actually very easy. So I know that people are worried after hearing me on the radio how much I put myself down, but I actually don't. That's something I've learned from the past. I've always been extremely hard with myself. But before, I was putting myself down a lot, and that was not helpful. Now I change my mindset in these situations, and I try to analyze why I did that mistake as quickly as possible, try to understand what I can improve to not do this mistake again, and then I turn the page and I just forget about that race, which is what I did. So yeah, now I'm back stronger, and hopefully I won't be doing this mistake again.
Would you advocate that that's a very good way for Charles Leclerc to get over what was a very disappointing end to Turkey? Could have been on for a podium, went for an opportunist overtake, ended up being passed by his teammate.
I'm not going to say about the swearing, but I like how he is, because that's how we all feel, and he's letting it out. He's letting us see his emotion. And if he wasn't like that, he wouldn't be performing like he is. So I think it's great, and I think, like he said, he's...
Can I run there just sustainable because it's Amsterdam City? Yep, copy.
He's been through enough. Like he said in Baku, he did it last year in qualifying when he crashed in Q2, when he was probably on to win the Grand Prix. But you know, he will always learn. He's young, but you know, he put himself in a position. You can always rewind and think what I would have done then, but you can't look into the future, can you, and say what you're going to do.
More importantly for me, when faced with a similar situation in the future, I really hope Charles Leclerc goes for it again, and I hope it comes off for him at that time, because what an absolutely thrilling last lap that was. Perez, Leclerc, Vettel, mega battle.
I think he will, though. I mean, yeah, as he said his own words, he puts it to the back of his mind quite quickly. He recovers. You know, we saw it in Baku when he had that accident in qualifying, which he seemed to refer to in the middle of his rant to himself. Listen, he is a quality driver and talent, and if there's ever an opportunity to go for another move, he will be. You know, I have no doubt about that.
Ted, to you.
Just talking to him yesterday, Crofty, wasn't the reason he was so frustrated was that he already had P2 off of Sergio Perez, and all he needed to do was to keep it there and block the road over the last few corners.
Yeah, but I think what happened...
And then, sorry, Corinne, let me finish. And so he was so frustrated with himself after the race that Mattia Binotto, actually, who was in Maranello, had to get on the radio himself. So that bit of radio we played out was edited. On the proper one, the unedited version, you hear Binotto coming on the radio and saying, "Basta, Charles, basta," which is Italian for enough. So he was really beating himself up so much, so significantly, that the team boss had to get on the radio to tell him to calm down. They felt he was, you know, talking that much out of control. Right, sorry, Karim, what were you going to say?
I've lost my train of thought. Oh, no, yes, he had got ahead of Perez, you're right, Ted, but when I watched it back in the week, there was some onboard I found online. I think what happened was, because Charles was behind at the DRS detection point, he actually, despite getting ahead of Checo, the Checo ran wide, Charles had his DRS open, but he had to lift, I think, through the kink of 11, which was still damp. And with DRS open, I think he was less confident. Plus, we know the Ferrari's compromise in straight line speed. So he went defensive. I think where he was annoyed was he chose to go to the wetter left part of the track, which in a dry situation is a defensive place to be.
And in the wet situation offered less grip.
Often, yeah, exactly. And I think that's where he was annoyed with himself. So it is a tricky one, really.
Either way, Binotto coming on from Maranello saying, enough, calm down. He's at Maranello again this weekend, I think, Mattia Binotto as well. Calvin says, great discussion on unsustainable costs of the junior single-seater ladder to Formula One. Costs for entry-level series seem to have doubled from an already obscene level when I raced 10 years ago. 600k for F4 is inexcusable. What else have we got through here? Tom Woody, F1. Karting has become an sport. You have kids throwing away tyres that cost £100 a set after each heat. Working class don't have a chance.
I tell you what, when I have my, I have a kart up a little track in the Midlands called Wilton Mill, and I used to go, Crofty, and buy the tyres off these kids. I used to give them 20 quid, and I still do now when I go up there. You know, give them 20 quid, buy their second-hand tyres. They still work fine.
In my view, says Paul McGuinness, the drivers earn every penny of their salary. They're the best in the business. If the races keep increasing each season, then a cap wouldn't be fair. I can see both sides of the argument, though. And Jesse Young, I know there'll be detractors to this, but I'd be in favour of the F1 Esports Series champion getting a full season in an FIA feeder series like F3, F4, etc. That's a good way to get the next generation more motivated for F1. Very quickly, gents, because you both came up through karting. buying tyres, whatever, or they came up through the ranks. Can you take someone from esports and stick them straight into an F3 car, for instance, the following season?
You can't, but I was, I looked after the GT Academy program where you took drivers from esports to racing Le Mans. So I ran that program in India. And you had to, it worked well. You found drivers coming through, but you had to do a whole bunch of steps in between. You can't take them and stick them in an F3 car. They have to do a load of testing. They have to do F4. But you have to prepare them in a safe way, because going in from esports, where you hit alt control delete and restart, to actually racing on a racetrack where you can hurt yourself, there is a gulf in there.
Yeah. And listening to where are we? Sorry, Tom Thickpenny says, Paul is absolutely right. As someone who raced Lando, George, Lance, etc. in karts from an average family, it's an absolutely different world for those who make it. It's impossible to compete. You need millions. Keep those coming in. We might talk about this a little bit more in the future, I think. Hashtag SkyF1 for your tweets, please. There are 21.5 minutes to go of this session. And Lewis Hamilton into the 129s now. 129.0 set on the medium compound tyre. Half a second clear of Valtteri Bottas.
Sky Sports F1, sponsored by the new Alfa Romeo Giulia and Stelvio Quadrifoglio.
To 50% off. eBay's Black Friday is now on. Buy, sell, eBay.
We all use a lot more water than we should, but we're on a mission to change that. Finish Quantum Ultimate's superior formula cleans, degreases and shines without having to waste water pre-rinsing. So let's turn off the taps and help drop 33 litres a day.
Uber Eats are giving new customers a tenner off loads of local faves.
Even Noodle House.
Yes, mate. And them.
Oh, thanks, babe.
Oh, milk. Oh, that's the one.
Guessing apparently the figures are in line with the curve.
It's freezing.
Hi, British Gas. Hold on.
It's alright. Yeah.
That's mine.
What are you doing?
Film for words. What are you doing? You're rubbish at this.
It's done.
Set your phasers to fun. Time to bring out the big guns.
I'll drive you shit.
This is gonna be amazing. What do I wear?
Jealous. Me too.
You always left me satisfied.
That's what she said.
Rude. Nikki?
Nothing happened.
Vete, gun. Oh my God.
Oh, good show, right?
Oh, wasn't that a gas?
Sky Store. Fall in love again with our biggest ever movies.
Here we go.
I am putting together a show, and I need a star.
The fate of the universe is at stake.
Wakanda forever!
Get swept away in your most loved adventures.
And that's why we're celebrating with the biggest party ever.
You're welcome.
Relive your favorite family thrills whenever you want in Sky Store.
The weekend's live championship action kicks off with a West London derby as Brentford welcome QPR. Sky Sports. Feel it all.
So on board with Pierre Gasly, 17 minutes and 40 seconds to go in this particular session. We've been discussing in recent moments the cost of getting into to motorsport and how expensive it is for an awful lot of people. Rob Smedley sends me a message, and I did briefly say this a while ago about low-cost electric karting, and I completely forgot, sorry about this, Rob, that's the series that Rob and the venture that Rob is behind at the moment. Low-cost electric karting series, get more kids involved at a fixed price for the whole season. And so you can't chuck a load of money at it and use money to get yourself to the top. It is all about talent.
I went to the launch of Rob's project. I just went on my own to have a look and have a chat and understand it. I think it's a great concept. I really hope that Formula One and the FIA, it's actually CIK, which is the karting arm of the FIA, that needs to get behind it. The karting business, I've learned in the last 7 years of being a part of the FIA's Drivers' Commission and trying to learn about it. Every time we have a conversation about the karting world, I often get a headache because I just can't comprehend why it all costs as much as it does. And then you start to understand that chucking a new chassis at it every day of a weekend, a new engine every session, you just go, I don't understand why. So just to finish up, I'm all for an idea, whether it's Rob's project or whether someone's
What's that project called? Is it Electroheads?
Yes.
Electroheads.
Whether it's that one or another project, I'm all for anything that can make motorsport cheaper. It's never going to be as cheap as football or cricket or tennis, right? Because there's capital expenditure. That's just, you have to buy a cart and tires and possibly a mechanic or something. So you're never going to truly make motorsport a cheap mass sport, but it needs to be infinitely cheaper than what it is today.
If Electroheads, look it up on various internet search engines, and you can find out all about it if that's something that you want to consider for the future. Here in the present, 15 minutes to go. Sebastian Vettel has just gone 10th. Sebastian Vettel back on the podium in Turkey. I don't know about you, Paul de Resta. I know you weren't watching it live. You were very busy that weekend as well. But a man who ends a 19 race 420-day wait for a podium. That's always good news for me, to see him smiling and on the podium again.
If he hadn't got on the podium this year, it would have been a disaster, wouldn't it? Tricky conditions. But listen, he showed his form, didn't he, in the end? It was interesting to hear Charles comment on the radio to say, he was happy for him to achieve that. Charles going to catch somebody here on this lap as well, which is not good for him. He's obviously on a soft tyre, but he's going to have to back out. I think he's caught a Haas, which is obviously out there in a high fuel run, but with Seb, he's definitely have a struggle. He's going to have a big reset at the end of this year, and whether he can achieve that success rate to get on the podium more often. He's not going to be on it as often as he was with Ferrari a few years ago, and certainly not Red Bull, but a podium sometimes will feel like a win again to him.
Went from 11th to 3rd, Sebastian Vettel, by the end of the first lap. He spent 55 of the 58 laps running in the top 5 as well, and comes to a track where he has more wins than anyone else on the grid for this particular race, and that is Charles Leclerc getting caught behind the AlphaTauri.
What the hell is he doing?
Do you want to answer that one?
I think he was just on a long run, actually. I don't think Charles left enough of a gap, and I think he's caught him up. People are out there doing their own stuff.
Well, he didn't like it. And,
maybe he wasn't. I didn't see the early stages of the lap.
Got very much caught up. I think Gasly was on a long run, but a 1:56.1 with his last lap. He certainly wasn't on a flying lap. Ted, to you.
Just talking Ferrari, I have asked the team whether there's anything we should know about with their programme today, which explains their sort of lowly positions in their timing. Obviously, you said Vettel went 10th and Charles Leclerc further down the order, Crofty. And I do have an explanation, is that they are trying a lot of test items that aren't necessarily for this weekend. A very full programme today, says my contact at Ferrari, with a lot of tests to do, various things. Obviously, we are at a crucial, critical point in terms of the extra bits that they're going to add to this year's cars that are going to next year. They're predominantly the same car, but with, as far as the survival cell, the monocoque goes, but they will be changing aerodynamically due to the rules and some other stuff. So this is, around now, is a crucial time. They need to do some tests on track to prove next year's cars as well. But I did think that was sweet, didn't you, Crofty, that Seb was well, he wasn't jumping up and down on the podium, and I asked him about that. You know, weren't you particularly happy to get your first podium since Mexico last year? He said, oh, well, you know, I've got 120 of them. It was okay, type thing. I think we were more excited about it. Relieved, maybe, to see him on the podium than he was.
It was his 55th podium for Ferrari, a number that equals Rubens Barrichello as the second most amount of podiums for the Scuderia.
Is that right? Good stuff.
I try, Ted, to impress you, even after all these years.
I like it.
With my stats. But yes, there you go. 55th podium.
I had a good chat with Seb yesterday, actually, in the paddock. And, you know, I think he's just looking forward to enjoying these last 3 races. You know, I got the impression I think most people from the outside, we've looked at it and gone, God, he must be just waiting for the last lap of Abu Dhabi to get out of here. It's been a season from hell for him. But I think he's turned up here for this final triple header, you know, in the mindset that he wants to just try and enjoy and close the this chapter of his career in a good way. And he's, you know, I think it's been a tough year. Of course, there's no hiding from that. But he's, you know, he's not looking at it as something that he can't wait for it to finish, is what I'm trying to say.
What is it about the characteristics of that Ferrari car this year that Seb hasn't enjoyed very much? I'm looking at you two now because you understand a lot more than most about this sort of thing.
I really don't know. I mean, I think it's extraordinary, isn't it, how it's just gone away from him all season long. I mean, we know from his Red Bull days, when you speak to the engineers and people who work for him at Red Bull, he likes a car with a really stable rear end at corner entry, particularly in the medium and slow speed corners. Maybe he hasn't had that this year, but I don't know. It's a strange one.
I don't understand it. Like, I don't understand how Albon's so far off Max all the time, because the reality is in these junior formulas, the cars are spec. They have these things that they inherit. You know, they have an Airbus rear on corner entry, but you drive around it and you succeed because you have to make the best out of it, and you've got the same machinery. And if you're a couple of tenths off coming through junior ranks and you're not doing the job, then you're not going to get to the very top and you're not going to dominate. So where does it go wrong, and why can you not adapt to be